Hello everyone, today we'll be going back to visit Tomb Raider 3. Not a game I've featured a lot on the channel, but certainly one that I have fond memories of. So it was one of the very first games I got with my PlayStation 1. I was never that good at the game, so I spent most of my time at Croft Manor, which is technically like a training stage, but there's a little bit more to this level than just that. So join me as we look at 50 things you might not know, or at least remember, about Lara's home, aka Croft Manor, on Tomb Raider 3. When you load up the level, you'll be in Lara's bedroom. So, that's where we'll start the video. The first thing to note is that there is a cupboard by Lara's bed. If you open it up, there are some flares inside, which you can pick up. They'll come in handy later on. Okay, next let's head into the bathroom. Using the look button, you can spot small details on the level which you might otherwise miss. For example, did you know that Lara actually has a toothbrush by the sink? It's a nice small detail that the developers added in. You can use the look button to check out other details around the house too. Did you know that Winston doesn't load up with the level itself? He only spawns when you step on or pass over the square of floor just outside Lara's bedroom. Winston spawns down in the hallway, right about here. Sticking with Winston facts, did you know that he farts? Yeah, the developers actually gave him a fart sound effect, which you might be able to hear if you're standing close to him. Listen to this. Next we're going to head over to the dining room. You should be able to see a stereo over by the wall there. There's also a button right next to it. If you press the button, music will play from the hi-fi. Check this out. Next up is the gym course, where you can practice jumping between objects. Let's complete it together. You start where else? At number 1. You can jump to number 2, but you can actually just walk off the edge and land on there too. To get from 2 to 3, just run and jump near the white line, and press the action button to grab onto the ledge if you need to. To get from 3 to 4, run and jump to the platform ahead of you. Again, press the action button to grab onto the edge of the platform if you need to. To get to the small second platform, you can line yourself up by walking to the end of the platform, lunging backwards, then running, jumping and grabbing onto the edge of the next platform. Now head over to the platform marked with the number 4. Okay, so we're about to jump back to where we just were. Again, if you want to line yourself up carefully, you can walk forwards to the white line, then lunge backwards before performing a running jump and grabbing onto the edge. Okay, now head to number 5. Jump up and hit the action button to grab onto the edge up there. Then press and hold right to move along while still holding the action button. Once you get to the white line, press up to get onto the ledge. The game tells you how to get down carefully by holding onto the edge and then letting go. But it's such a small drop that you don't actually have to do this here. Okay, number 6. Grab and jump onto the ledge as before, then press up to get onto the ledge. Face the opening, then press the crawl button, which is L2 here on the PS1 version, before moving in the direction of the passageway. Once you get to the end, turn around, move backwards to the white line, then head backwards and hold the action button to go over the edge and grab on. Alright, on to number 7 now. Jump up and press and hold the action button to grab onto the bars. Press and hold up to get to the top. You can always move with the walk button, R1 on the PS1 version, press to get you in position for the monkey bars. Jump up and press and hold the action button to grab on. Then hold up as well to get to the other end.
Now use the directional buttons to manoeuvre across. Don't let go of the action key, because as soon as you do, I'll let go. That's great.
Once you get to the other end, let go of the action button to get down. Get in position, then lunge backwards and press and hold the action button again to go over the edge and grab onto the bars. Then hold down to get to the bottom.
Right, let's sprint.
Okay, last one. Line yourself up on number 8. Start running, then press and hold the sprint button to, well, sprint. Near the end, press the jump button to do a roll, and that's it, you're done. Okay, so if you go past the gym into the swimming pool area, head over to the diving board. Behind it is a button which opens this door in the entrance hall. Head over there and you'll see that there's a lever inside which you can interact with. This will open another door across the hall from where you are. Turn around and run as fast as you can across to the other side, and if you're fast enough, you can make it inside before the door closes again. This room is full of artifacts, mainly from other games in the series. The first of these is the Iris, which is seen in Tomb Raider The Last Revelation and Tomb Raider Chronicles, both future games in the series. So interestingly, this item is foreshadowing what's to come in the next installment. Next is the Dagger of Shan, which featured prominently in the storyline of the previous game, Tomb Raider 2. Above the fireplace, you can see a T-Rex trophy head. The Tyrannosaurus Rex has appeared in multiple Tomb Raider games, both past and future at this point in the series, starting from Tomb Raider 1. Over here you can see the Atlantean Scion, which featured in the original Tomb Raider storyline. At the end of TR1, the Scion was destroyed by Lara, but the pieces still live on here. Lastly, there's this gold idol. I wanted to give this idol its own section in the video as it's not quite like the other items in this room. It actually parodies the gold idol seen in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not only that, there's a rumour that it's actually got one of the game developers' faces on it. Maybe one day we'll know which developer it is. Alright, so if you've played this game, you've probably gotten sick of Winston trying to follow you about everywhere you go, getting in the way of everything you try and do. Well, one option is to lock him either inside or outside the house. It just depends where you want to be and where you want him to be. For example, press the button next to Lara's front door to open it. Now go outside and press the button on the exterior wall to close the door again. Now he's stuck in the house and you can do whatever you like out here without him getting in the way. This gives us the perfect chance to tackle the assault course. Here's how to do it. Step up here and the timer will start. If you're not familiar with the course, you might want to take your time and line up your jumps. And once you've done it a few times, you can just go for it. The first 3 jumps are straightforward. However, the 4th is deceptively tricky. Jump at the very end of the platform and press the action button to grab on at the last second. Now jump off and into the water. Press the jump button and then the action button to grab onto the netting. Once at the top, make your way around to the left. Now we need to do a quick series of jumps. You can press the jump button and a directional button at the same time to get Lara to jump between them like this. This next bit can be a bit tricky. Slide down like I am here, then jump off and grab onto the netting. Once again, keep the action button held to climb up all the way. You'll also need to maneuver into the middle. Now it's time for the monkey bars. Like in the gym, jump up and press and hold the action button, then move yourself along. Once you get to the end, just let go and you'll slide down into the water. Swim through the tunnel and out to the other end. Again, jump up and grab onto the netting. At the top, move to the left and then go up and pull yourself up. Go towards the zipline and press and hold the action button to take a ride down. Once you get to this tunnel, start crawling and then stop in the middle of the tunnel to grab the pistols. Once you're at the other end, you can stand up again. Now, it's just a matter of shooting as many of the targets as you can. Annoyingly, Lara likes to aim at Winston instead of all the targets, making it a bit more difficult than it should be to hit them all. Once you've done that, you can sprint to the finish line. Okay, next up is the back door. Strangely, there's no button to operate this one, unlike the front door. So how do you get it to open? Once you get to the end of the assault course, you've probably noticed that the side gate then opens up, so you can get back to the front of the house. However, getting to the end of the assault course also simultaneously opens the back door as well. Here's one we all loved to do when we were younger. If locking Winston inside or outside the house isn't good enough, then you can lock him in the fridge. All you need to do is press the button next to the fridge door to open it. Then go inside and wait for Winston to join you. Run past him and, if you're quick enough, you can close the door before he's had a chance to escape. Now you can go about your business in peace. However, and here's the next thing on our list, there is a way that Winston can escape. If you lock Winston in the fridge before attempting the assault course or picking up the pistols, he can reappear outside. This is because when you pick up the pistols and begin shooting the targets, the original Winston likely despawns, and he will respawn in a different outfit, now wearing armour instead of his formal attire. However, you can also trap him somewhere else, somewhere you might not expect. Go to the tunnel near the end of the assault course and keep shooting at Winston until he falls over. Wait until he gets back up, then do the same thing again. Keep doing this until Winston is underneath the tunnel. When he gets up this time, he'll get stuck in it. And unlike the fridge or the house, he's not getting out of this predicament. Funnily enough, this also works with the quad bike. Don't worry, we'll discuss getting the quad bike out of the racetrack later on. There are two glitches you can exploit on Tomb Raider 3 to get to higher places. They work on other levels too, but have some good uses here. The first is a glitch performed by jumping near the corner of a building. Line yourself up like I've done here, then jump straight up in the air. Part of Lara will go inside the wall, and because the game won't allow you to be inside a wall, you'll instead be teleported on top of it instead. The second way to accomplish this same thing is by crouching. Again, line yourself up like I'm doing here, then enter into a crouch before getting up again. Like last time, you'll go partially into the wall, and the same thing will happen, whereby the game will teleport you on top of the wall instead. Using either of these methods in the spots that I've shown here in this video, it's possible to get up onto the roof of Croft Manor, somewhere you're not intended to go. The roof is quite a cool place to explore actually. There are lots of different levels up here, so you've got to jump and climb a bit to get around. Definitely something I'd recommend trying if you've never done it before. Okay, so there's part of the roof that's quite interesting, and it's located down here, past these blocks that function quite nicely as stairs. It's this bit, a glitchy red square, which seems to have a black water-like texture on part of it as well. I'm not sure what purpose it holds, but again, it's pretty cool to see. Here's another interesting thing about the rooftop. There are several brick chimneys, including this one here. If you climb on top of it, you'll be forced to crouch, even though there's nothing above you. It's almost like the level has an invisible ceiling that we just can't see. There is at least one chimney that you can stand on though, which is located on a lower section of roof than the others. So Lara likely has more space to stand up. Have you ever been inside Lara's bedroom and noticed this balcony outside the window? It's normally inaccessible, but now we have access to the roof. Let's see if we can manage to get here. Once you're up on the roof, look for this section here. It looks a bit different to the rest of the area because instead of having these black and white stripes all over it, it's just a solid white or grey colour. Line yourself up like I've done, then lunge backwards over the edge of the roof. If you've got the right spot, you'll slide down the side of this wall here and onto the balcony. So, what's here? Well, these flowers are quite glitchy. You can get stuck in them like this, but you can get out again. The balcony railings are solid as well, which I thought was a bit surprising, as you can't normally get here. There's not really much more to it, but it's finally good to explore here after all these years. Alright, so in addition to the glitchy red square that's on the top of the roof, there's also another one located just off the edge of it. Okay, so you just need to head over to the section of the roof that we used to get down onto Lara's balcony. If you look over the edge, you can see the assault course down there. Look over here and you can now see this weird red square. It's not visible if you look up from down below, only when you're looking down from off the roof. What's even better is that you can jump onto it and it's actually solid. I'm not sure why it's here. It was probably just unintentionally left in by the game's developers. Pretty cool. One important thing you'll need to know if you're intending to try any of these things yourselves is that you'll need to be able to get down from the roof safely. As you'll likely know, if Lara falls from a height, her health bar will take damage. And if she falls from a big height, it'll drain your entire life bar. So we need to be able to get down from the roof safely. There is more than one way to accomplish this, but here's a good one to get you started. Go over to this part of the roof, again looking over the assault course. If you look over the edge, you can see one of the areas of water from the course. Simply line yourself up and jump from the roof into the water, and you'll be fine. In real life, this water would likely be too shallow to land safely in, but hey, let's just take advantage of the leeway that this game gives us. Okay, back on ground now. At Croft Manor on Tomb Raider 3, the maze has been replaced by a racetrack. However, you need a key to enter. But did you know that if you try and interact with the lock before you have access to the racetrack key, Lara will say no.
No. No.
But don't worry, we'll find out how to access the racetrack key in just a second. So, here we go. First, go up the stairs and press this button to open the door to the attic. Now head in and go up the stairs. It's quite dark in here, so you could always use one of the flares you picked up earlier in Lara's bedroom. Now here we are in one part of the attic. You might be able to see a box over there. We're going to get Lara to push it into position. You just need to push it as far as it'll go, and then turn around and head back down the stairs. Now run along the hallway, go through the room with the TV and the piano in it to the library. We need to locate a particular book. It's the one that stuck out from the shelf. If you turn the camera side up, you'll have a better chance of seeing it. When you interact with it, it extinguishes the fire in the fireplace. Now you're free to climb up the chimney breast into the second part of the attic. Head down and you'll see another crate. Pull this one along so you can jump on it and get in position to push the next one. Push it like this to reveal a passageway. Then, pull this lever. It'll show a door opening downstairs. Then run down the passageway you just opened, down the stairs, then through this door.
If you want to look around, press and hold the look button. Then press in the direction you want to look.
This door leads down to the aquarium. This is a nice room with a stack of books and a chaise-longue. I'd like one of these in my home. There's even this statue too. If you go behind the chaise-longue and look into the fish tank, you can see the racetrack key on the bottom there. So, we need to go and retrieve it. Push this box into position. You need to line it up with the hole in the ceiling so we can jump through. Once that's done, jump up on the box and jump through the opening. Navigate around to where the racetrack key is and press the action button to pick it up. Now, you just need to go back to where we entered the tank to jump out again. Once you've got there, head back up towards the door, which will likely be shut now, as it only stays open for a certain amount of time once it's been opened. However, you can press the button on the wall here again to open it. Now you're free to head out to the racetrack. Once you're there, go up to the keyhole and interact with it. You can now pull out the racetrack key from your item bag and get ready to race. Okay, now we've been through all that, I should probably say that there's also a cheat that you can use to access the key without doing all that work. Press R2, L2 3 times, R2, L2 6 times, R2, L2 5 times, R2 and L2 2 times. Now you can do the same thing as before, just go to the keyhole and interact with it. Lara will pull the key out and use it. Also, did you know that you can stack more than one racetrack key in your bag? Even though you should only be able to pick up one, as there's only one on the level. You can either put in the cheat, then go and pick up the actual key in the aquarium. It'll still be there. Or you can enter the cheat for the key more than once. Now if you take a look at your items, you'll see that the racetrack key now has a number next to it. If If you enter the cheat multiple times, you can raise the number of racetrack keys even higher. There's also a way that you can get into the racetrack without a key at all, and it involves using the glitches to get on the roof that we used earlier in the video. Once you're on the roof, go over to this section here, which overlooks the racetrack. As you can see, there's a big hedge here that would normally stop you from getting in there when you're on the ground. Simply run off the edge off the roof. No need to jump, and you'll land on top of the hedge. You can then jump straight down, or you can maneuver yourself carefully if you want to conserve health, like this. One thing I always liked was that the game records your best lap on the racetrack. I used to spend ages trying to beat my previous records and set my new best times. I don't know if there's any kind of library of Tomb Raider 3 quad bike lap records online, but it'd be interesting to see what other people managed to do. However, as we'll see shortly, there are shortcuts you can take to get better times. Some intended to be taken by the player, some not so much. Keep watching to see those. Okay, so you probably saw in the previous segment of this video that you're supposed to go right at this section here. This will lead you around the final section of the track, where you go over 2 small jumps before one final hairpin to the finish line. But you know, this is a really long route, so if you want to set a good time, you'll probably need to find a faster way. On the same section of track, go left instead of right, and you'll go up this ramp instead, which is harder to spot as it blends in with the floor. Go up here, make a tight right turn, and there you go. A 5-second time save on the previous lap. Okay, now it's time to check out the ultimate shortcut on the racetrack. One that the game designers didn't actually intend you to be able to do. When you set off from the start line, go out to the left, then turn right towards these boxes. There's a little bump just before it, and if you hit it just right, you'll get enough air to get on top of the boxes. Then you can even jump over the hedge in the centre of the track to avoid having to take the last hairpin as well. And there you go, a lap time of under 8 seconds. And you could probably go a little bit quicker still. Usually, if you want to get to certain places that are generally considered out of bounds, such as the roof, you usually have to perform glitches. However, there is a way to get to some places you're not supposed to without glitches. Once you're inside the racetrack, get off the quad bike and go to this section here. This is the end of the shortcut that we featured earlier. If you line yourself up just right like I've done here, you can jump on top of the hedge that separates the racetrack from the rest of the grounds. Sadly, you can't get on the exterior walls from here. You can grab onto them, but the game prevents you from pulling yourself up. However, you can get over here onto the roof of the swimming pool. Funnily enough, when you're inside the pool, you can see out through the glass roof to the sky above. But when you're outside, the window textures are solid and you can't see into the pool below. This was probably done to ensure fast gameplay by showing fewer textures. Did you know that there's a way to get the quad bike out of the racetrack? Here's what you need to do. Go around to the last part of the track and go between the 2 jumps that are here. Hold the handbrake down, then build up some revs by holding down the accelerator as well. Then what you need to try to do is get some air off the jump, touch the hedge on the way over to get a boost. And this can be just enough to get the quad bike onto the step that you jump down from to enter the track. However, this is extremely difficult. So much so that this is the closest I came to performing the trick when I was actually recording my attempts for the video. I was so close as well. Best of luck with this one. Okay, so when you do manage to pull this trick off, you can ride the quad bike around Lara's home. One thing to note is that some things that are usually solid when you're on foot have no collision detection when you're on the quad bike, so you can ride through a lot of the items in Croft Manor, even the bed. However, make sure you don't get off the quad bike when you're stuck in an object, as you might not be able to get it back. So what would happen if we attempted to run over Winston on the quad bike? Let's find out. Interestingly, you can ride right through him like many of the furnishings in Croft Manor, but you can see blood coming out of him as well. Sadly though, if you've ever felt like you wanted to end Winston once and for all after following you relentlessly throughout the level, this sadly does not accomplish that feat. Let's check out what happens when you attempt to run Winston over once you've picked up the pistols from the assault course. Now Winston respawns in his military gear like we saw earlier in the video. So you can actually run him over, and Winston seems to have the same animation here as when you shoot him with the pistols. He'll fall over when you hit him, but then he'll get up again. That's one strong T-tray he's holding there. Like we saw earlier, you can actually force Winston to get stuck in the tunnel by doing this. Speaking of the tunnel, it's interesting to see what happens when you try to drive through it with the quad bike. Something the game's developers never thought you'd be able to do. On foot, you're supposed to crouch at this point to go ahead and pick up the pistols. If you try to walk into it, the game will stop you from going any further. You can't do this on a quad bike though, so instead of crashing into it, you can just drive straight through it, with Lara's head and upper body clipping into the roof of the tunnel. Pretty funny to see. Okay, sticking in the same area of the level, did you know that you can actually use the quad bike to destroy the targets on the assault course? You're supposed to use the pistols to shoot them all down, but it can be hard to do this in the time that you have, before they pop back down again. On the quad bike though, it's much easier. So what happens when you drive the quad bike into any of the sections of water found on the level? Let's go to the swimming pool to find out. Well, what happens is the quad bike explodes and disappears. Your health is completely drained, forcing you to return to the main menu and restart the level. And in case you're wondering, this also happens when you drive into the water found in several places along the assault course as well. There is one stretch of water that reacts differently, however, which we'll see later in the video. Conversely, let's see what happens when you set the quad bike on fire. Well, no real surprises here. Lara sets on fire and her health gets drained. Funnily enough though, you can still move the quad bike after Lara has no health, just before you're sent back to the main menu screen. And just in case you thought you could save yourself by jumping in the bath, that causes the quad bike to explode like before, which just ends the level as well. Okay, let's say that you find it hard to get the quad bike out of the racetrack using the method that I showed earlier. What if there was another way? Well, you can use cheat codes to alter the position of the quad bike, to move it pretty much wherever you like. This means you can edit the position of the quad bike to move it out of the racetrack. Weirdly, when you first enter the level, the quad bike now seems to be invisible, but it's still there and you can get on it just like you usually would. If you want to try this, you can use the codes in the video description, by the way. Also, when you're on the quad bike, you'll need to turn off the code to be able to move around. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in the original coordinates. Okay, so where can we go with this code? Well, maybe the best thing you can try is moving the quad bike onto the roof. Yes, if you've ever wanted to ride the quad bike on the roof, well, now you can. It's quite fun to ride around up here and drive all over the bits that we walked over earlier in the video, especially the blocks that look like steps. Overall, it's just quite surreal to see the quad bike up here. One of my favourite things to do up here is to jump off the roof on the quad bike. Usually you'd just die if you jumped off with Lara on foot, so it's quite a thrill to be able to launch yourself off with no consequences. It's fun to try it in different spots as well. In fact, I made a whole video about this years ago, which I'll link at the end of the video. Anyway, there's one spot in particular that I wanted to highlight, and it's this spot here. Now this might be possible elsewhere too, but I found that if you jump off this bit near the racetrack, you can perform a 360 spin, which wouldn't look out of place in a Tony Hawk's game. Okay, do you remember when we took the quad bike for a dip in the water earlier? As I said, there's one spot where the quad bike behaves differently. Use the code in the description to get the quad bike on the roof. Then position yourself so that you can jump off into the water that surrounds the horse statue near the entrance to the racetrack. Various things can happen when you do this. Firstly, if you land on the edge then go into the water, the same thing as before seems to happen. where the bike explodes and disappears, but because the water is shallow, Lara keels over with her feet on the floor. Next time I tried this, I went straight into the water, and instead of performing any kind of animation, Lara just stayed in the same stance that she adopts when she's on the quad bike. Pretty strange. And here's the last one. When I crashed into the water this time, Lara was stuck in this repetitive glitchy animation, which was also pretty strange. Another cool thing you can do with the quad bike position code is to move it outside the front gate. Again, I'll post these codes in the description as well in case anyone wants to try it out. Just follow what I do here in the video. I'm not sure if there's a legitimate way to explore beyond the front gate using glitches on Tomb Raider 3, but you used to be able to do it on Tomb Raider 2. This was achieved by getting up on the exterior walls, but as we've seen, they stopped the player from being able to do this on Tomb Raider 3. Anyway, the space outside the front gate is really nice in my opinion. There are all these autumnal trees to represent the time of year that Lara's home is set on Tomb Raider 3. Then there's this little path in the middle that's meant to look like it continues away from Croft Manor into the rest of the world. Another one worth exploring for yourselves. So there was always a small section of Croft Manor that I could never get to when I was younger, and it was here, inside, above the door. There's nothing up there, but I just always wondered whether it would be possible to reach it. Sadly, the jumping and crouching glitches don't seem to be able to be of much use here, as they don't work so well when there's a roof or ceiling above you. So to get here, I used a cheat code to give Lara the ability to do an infinite jump. I don't know whether there's a legitimate way to get up here, but it still feels amazing to think that I've owned this game since the late 1990s, and I'm only just walking in this spot for the first time ever. Here's another place you might not know you can get to, and it's another spot that's accessible from the roof. It's the monkey bars from the assault course. However, we're going to get on top of them rather than hang off them. If you go to this spot on the roof here and jump off, you can actually land high above this part of the course. I'm not sure why it extends so far up here. Anyway, we can use this to get in place to drop down onto the monkey bars. It looks pretty strange to stand between the bars and essentially just walk on thin air. Also, when you're using the monkey bars, you can see that they have quite a lot of bars, but only some of them are visible when viewed from above. Okay, let's talk about the horse statue again. If you played Tomb Raider 2, you might remember that there was a statue of a fish here, which has been replaced. Anyway, did you know that the statue is technically much higher than it seems? Using the infinite jump cheat, I can show you. You can see where the top of the statue appears to be, based on the horse's head, but actually, it extends way above it, as shown by the fact that you can stand above it like this. Did you know that there are 0 enemies on this level, and 3 types of allies? The first ally is of course Winston, the butler who follows you around the level relentlessly. Winston's been featured in this video already, so let's discuss the others. The second ally found on the level is the banner fish, which is also called the butterfly fish or the coral fish. It's one of the types of fish in Lara's aquarium, where you can see schools of them swimming around. In real life, they're mostly found on the reefs of the Atlantic, Indian and Pacific Oceans. Lastly, we have the surgeon fish, also found in the aquarium. They are usually found in shallow and clear coastal water within reefs in the Indian Ocean. They're saltwater fish, which means that the tank here must also be filled with salt water. Here we are at number 49 on our list. We've talked about what's outside the front gate already, but we haven't talked about its purpose. The front gate of Lara's home now serves as a way to end the level. There are no requirements to complete the level, so the player can leave whenever they like. Simply push the button on the side of the entrance here to open the gate. Now all you need to do is simply walk through it and you'll be transported back to the main menu. And the last thing I wanted to share with you all is how to get to what I believe is the best view of Croft Manor. And it's how I got the angle for the video's thumbnail actually. What you need to do is perform the crouching glitch or the jumping glitch by the front gate here. You see, the game doesn't send you back to the main menu until you get to a certain point. I was hoping that I could use this glitch here to get outside the front gate without the need for cheat codes, but sadly it's not possible. However, I was in fact rewarded by this awesome view of Croft Manor that I was able to get instead. So on that note, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned at least a couple of things from this video, even if you're a die-hard Tomb Raider fan. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. See you next time.